Hi, and welcome to the Modern Sense podcast. This is season 2, episode 3, and I am Andrea Thompson. Today, thrilled to have my friend, Emily Miszk, who is a mortgage broker for BRX Mortgages. She and I have known each other for, I think, about 7 years now. She's an incredibly successful business owner, mom extraordinaire, and I'm really excited to talk about a myriad of subjects with her today. So welcome to the podcast, Emily.
Thank you so much. I love that intro. It was perfect.
Well, I don't know. I just came up with it. So on the fly, Emily is over in Kelowna, BC. I'm based in Ontario. And we met, like I said, about 7 years ago. I think I was on maternity leave.
You were.
And Emily, you were not on maternity leave. You had been off maternity leave and back to the workforce. But I do want to get started with a little bit of your history today, because when you and I met, and we've talked about this before, you really inspired me with your story of independence. So talk to us a little bit about your journey in the mortgage business, where you came from and how you ended up at BRX and where you're at now.
Okay. Yeah. And thank you for having me. I always love when we get to hang out through work because obviously we are friends first. So that's really cool. But yeah, I've been in mortgages pretty much my entire adult life. We are part of a brokerage called Bricks Mortgage or BRX, whichever way you want to say it really. And Scott Peckford is the CEO, and he also has a podcast called I Love Mortgage Brokering. And he started, as like a training academy for mortgage agents and mortgage brokers across Canada. So the reason I bring that up is because he always says that no one actually starts in this industry. Everyone kind of falls into this industry somehow, whether they had a bad experience at the bank or, something has happened in their life and now they're having a mid-shift career. And I'm like, no, I actually started here. I went to school and I graduated from Western and then I became a mortgage agent. And that's kind of where my whole journey with mortgages has started. Now, I did start at CIBC in the bank right out of school. I don't know why, but I wanted to get a government job so badly. I think there was some sort of pride moment where I was like, I'm going to have a desk job and I'm going to work 9 to 5. And I don't know, I just had this like lifestyle idea in my head of that was what was success, is to
Hmm.
kind of like sit at a desk and have a title, like if I could be
Hmm.
VP of sales or marketing or something like that, that would just like totally strike all of the chords for me, which is so funny because it couldn't be further from the truth. I hated sitting at a desk. I couldn't stand telling clients no. When I was at CIBC, it was a great learning experience for sure, entry level to the mortgage world, but you only have one product and one brand. And there's so many people out there like us that are business owners. Maybe we have great tax strategies and, tools and ways to create amazing wealth, but it might not show up necessarily in traditional ways on your T4 notice of assessment tax documents, right? There's different ways to do things and different ways to be successful. And I was telling these clients no, but they had 6 other properties, or they had businesses in the States, or they had, like just different ways of life. And when you work with so many different individuals and you see all these opportunities, but you're the one that's saying no, it's a really frustrating place to be. And they're not no clients. We're not talking about no down payment, or it's just different, right? And you have to be able to
Hmm.
open your mind to that to be able to find those solutions. And I just wasn't able to do that in that particular role. And when I became a broker, one of the things that we always say, or people always say, although we don't typically use 150 lenders or whatever, but we do have access to hundreds of lenders. So that really opens things up where if you have a client that, has investments, but they don't want to take it out, we're not talking about people that are doing bad things. We're talking about people that have different strategies in place. And that's, what you do, right? Like you'll help people figure out the best use and the best way to do things for their individual situation. It's very similar to what I do. And now now I have access to other things and tools and products to be able to do that. So it's just a much more open, wonderful, exciting way to look at building net worth and financial strategy overall that includes, your house and your mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always give the clients the analogy of if you want to buy a new car and you just go to the Honda dealership, you're only going to get Hondas. So it's the same as going to a bank. You want to walk into a CIBC branch and get a mortgage, you're only going to get the products offered by CIBC.
Yeah.
So I've always been a big fan of independence and not being beholden to a proprietary product, for example. And I think that independent spirit is what you're talking about, where you have more tools to your advantage, more lenders to negotiate with, and more flexibility in your arsenal to be able to find the
Yeah,
best option for the clients, right? At the end of the day, that's what you
absolutely.
want to do. How
Yeah.
did you make the decision to leave CIBC and go the more independent route?
Yeah, that was honestly really hard, especially the time that I did it in my personal life because for me, I actually loved, like I said, the job. I did really love the company too. We had a great history of, 9 or so years. There's nothing wrong with being at the bank. It just was something I didn't want anymore. And so I think when I've ever made a decision, and we'll probably get to this in a little bit and as well later on, I guess, in the conversation, but I've always kind of looked at where I am now and what I want. And then I'd say, what am I more afraid of staying where I am, or am I more afraid of what could happen? And usually I'm not afraid of what will happen because I always know you can go back
Hmm.
unless you're dead, right? Like you could just go
Yeah.
back. Like, I could just go back. I always left on great terms everywhere I've had. I even have, like, good relationships with my ex-boyfriends. Like, we're still
Hmm.
friends. And maybe to the detriment of myself, but I'm, like, a chatty, friendly person, and
Yeah.
if you don't burn a bridge, then
Yeah.
you could walk back on it, and I guarantee you if I applied for a position at CIBC today, even though it's been years and years and years, I'd get the job from people that I still work with. They refer me business that they can't close because of the rules and regulations there that are different than, let's say, the broker side. So I don't think that I'd have a problem getting a job there. So I was like, why not just try it? And that's kind of my mentality in life. Like, why not just try it? Worst case scenario, we'll just go back. So that was kind of the decision. I had a baby 16. The day I was supposed to go back, I think it was like January 3rd in 2017. So it had been like a full year. And I just was like, do I really want to put high heels on and hop on the TTC one more time? And I just said, no, I'm just going to try and do it from home. And that's kinda how it happened, and, it's been awesome. So, I just didn't want to spend time commuting. I really valued my time with my son. I ended up keeping him home for 22 months. I just didn't feel comfortable putting him back in daycare or putting him in daycare until he was that age. I love the idea of having kids being able to advocate for themselves, like, be able to ask for help, that sort of thing, and, almost too, you can chat a little bit and that sort of thing. Hold your neck up,
Hmm.
that sort of independence for a baby.
Yeah.
So I felt comfortable then and I just worked and I nursed and I started the business when he was like, yeah, like 10 months old, and just kind of rocked it. I brought him with me to meetings all the time. Partners loved him. He was
It's
almost,
so wonderful. And I know him, and he's a wonderful kid, and now you have two kids. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but they're
of
both
course.
awesome kids, and it's
So,
really fun because you and I are in similar respects to be at home, seeing and participating in the lives of your kids,
mhm.
and while still running a business and still and being successful and putting your own personal values and goals also out there, and they can see that. I think that's kind of the beauty as well, is they're absorbing what you're doing,
Yeah,
but you're also showing
totally.
them that they're important to you.
Yeah, and I think, like, keeping him home, I wasn't working 80 hours with him. I was working smart hours with him, and I know but, like, they nap a lot in the beginning. We were on 3 naps a day and he was
Mhm.
going to bed at 7, so, like, the send later feature in an email is magic.
Yeah.
And so you have to work smart, so I definitely use those 2 two-hour naps and, like, maybe that one little bonus nap you would sometimes get. 30 minutes, and I'd
Mhm.
have everything ready to go and just manage it. Of course, I had a very supportive partner as well that saw the value in what I was doing, so I could do handoffs and stuff like that, but I'll be honest with you, like, and I share everything. I breastfed for almost 2 years, so I was the food provider,
Mhm.
so he was with me. I was not like a come in and get a nanny situation. If I could, I would have, but he was like attached to me. So I had to be very smart with my time because there was no handoff that way. So yeah, I just maximized my efficiencies and focused on where I could get the most bang for my buck in the business and then doubled down on that. And it was great. And I always say I love that my kids get to see me work. I think it's really important that they see how much I care about clients and my business partners. I don't want them to think that, everything's easy. I want them to have the ability to work. But when I'm with my kids, I am with my kids. So it's not a balanced work-life balance. It's a balanced lifestyle. And I'm very intentional in how I design that. And I know you
Yeah.
are too.
intentionality is the appropriate word here. And I think that we're very fortunate, but we also create our own destiny. Part of what you do that I do want to make sure we talk about is you coach other mortgage agents, correct? Under
Yep.
your brokerage. So if there's any other individuals out there listening, talk to me about how you coach people into developing that type of lifestyle as a mortgage agent.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's really important that I've always felt if you have, I mean, I can show you my little mug. It says collaboration over competition.
Yes.
So it's the whole idea of we really have the ability to change the industry. And I know you believe this wholeheartedly. It's one of my absolute favorite things about you. And when I speak about you, it's what I lead with. You believe there's a different way to doing things.
Hmm.
And we have the ability to help clients, but we also have the ability, if we want to change the industry. And I get so excited by that. You know, you were mentioned, we had a little bit of a brief conversation about like the idea of holistic planning, and that includes everything, right? And it's not just about the rate, it's about a service and experience that you're providing. I really try to lead with that passion and that level of seriousness. When you're getting into someone's life, it's so important to take that as a privilege and an honor.
Hmm.
And I think that's what I lead with my coaching is that these clients are coming to you for serious advice, whether it be for your investments or your mortgage. They're hundreds of thousands of dollars that the wrong choice for them is not just a transaction. It could be life-changing, and you could be part of that in such a great way if you take it seriously. And so that's the way I coach, and that's what I try to lead with so that everyone on my team knows they can ask many questions 1,000 times, that they have the support of someone who's been doing this for almost 20 years, and then an entire back end support within our brokerage that if I don't have the answer, we will find it together. So just leading with that respect for clients is the way that I coach. And our team's 26 agents and growing. It's not the biggest in Canada, but it's definitely not the smallest.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing. And we're in a bigger community of 406 brokers, and we are the largest team within the company. But yeah, it's just a very special group of people. I was just talking about it today on our Instagram stories about the group chat that we have and the amazing questions that come up. It's not just a simple question like, what's the lowest rate? It's how can I best assist this client? These are the situations that I've thought of, but is there something that I'm missing? Just that deeper dive. Is there one more way? And oftentimes, no, you're correct. Those are the ones.
Hmm.
But maybe there's a niche program or some sort of unique product. Let's dig deeper. And I just love that community that we're creating. So, yeah, that's what fuels my soul.
Community. That's it. Because we're all individuals and we know what we're doing, but at the end of the day, I think all of us, we're social beings. We're humans. We like to have people, as maybe some of us are more extroverted than others. But I have a team of 4 planners and we do the same thing, right? We have a Google chat that goes every
Yeah,
day and we are putting stuff in there like, hey, here's a situation. Can I get some other perspectives? So, same thing. And
right.
I think that that only strengthens the advice that we can bring to clients at the end of the day, which is what you're doing as well.
Totally.
And I love what you mentioned about rates because I think often clients are pretty uneducated about mortgages. And when I'm having conversations with the clients, they're talking about rates, and that's really the only thing they're comparing. So I would love for you to demystify the rate. Why
Yeah.
is it important? Why is it not important? And how do we frame that when we're making an overall decision about a renewal or a new mortgage?
Yeah, I love that question so much. And one of your questions that you kind of prepped me on a little bit was like evergreen advice. What's something that you can kind of go to?
Hmm.
This is my advice almost on every client call. And I actually just sent this email out to a client at 7 a.m. this morning. She said, here's the 5 options that offered me. What one should I take? Variable right now is the lowest. And I'm just going to say some rates because it's timely for now, but please don't. Let's just for
Yeah.
examples,
Yeah.
we've got a 3-year at 391, a 5-year at fixed at 407, and a variable at 3.65. And she says to me, should I take the 365 variable? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like we've had many conversations. This is a longtime client, like going back almost one of my first clients, like 20 years, like OG girl. So she doesn't want to get
Hmm.
on now. She wants me to just tell her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to do that to you. That is not how I work. And you know
Yeah.
that. So I
Yeah.
pick up the phone and I give her a call because I want to know, has anything changed even from the last 4 months? Because we talked 4 months ago when she was up for preliminary. We start the
Hmm.
process up to 12 months in advance because that's how long it should be if you're having these types of conversations. It's not tomorrow's sign here.
Hmm.
It's let's talk about your plan. I want to know, okay, are you still happy in your marriage? Straight up. Okay. Because you might not want to stay in that house for another 10 years if you're thinking about a divorce.
Right.
Are your kids graduating from school? Where are you in your life? I don't start with the marriage question. I'm just putting that up there.
Fair
Spicy.
enough.
But there's goals and conversations that lead me to tell you that maybe a long term fixed is not for you. And 5 years, my friend, is a long time. If you looked at your life 5 years ago, tell me if it's the same or different.
Yeah. You're a financial planner, Anne.
A pandemic. Okay.
Well,
Maybe
and you're,
you didn't. Maybe you were married. Maybe now you're not. Maybe you had a death. Maybe you job changed. There's all these things that come into play. And then we're going to talk about fixed versus variable, right? Because we talked rate and
hmm
and I'm still talking rate when I'm saying short and long term, right? Because there's a rate associated. Typically it's longer term, higher rate, shorter term, lower rate, typically. But
hmm
then the banks throw in discounts and promos and all this other stuff. So it's like, let's talk about you and your goals.
hmm
So now we're going to say variable. This client says 365. That's like 40 basis points lower than the 5 3 year ish, right? Range. Well, 40 basis points. But are you well, it could go down. Well, it could go up. In 2023, everyone out there, I wasn't.
hmm
Everyone out there was saying, don't worry, rates will stay low until 2025. Well, I don't know. I had a variable rate mortgage because I am a variable rate girly. I always have been. Just the way I like it, okay? I like to,
Same.
you'll see though, as conversation goes, I've been variable probably in my life as well. So you're only a variable client if you like to make prepayments, if you like to break your mortgage, if you're comfortable with rates going up and down. You can't ride the wave if you don't have a surfboard. You got to be comfortable with being
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You're going to probably get wet. That's what happens when you go surfing. It's
Yeah.
not, if you want to sit and chill by the pool, you're not on a surfboard, and that's cool, right? So you need to know if you're someone that is comfortable with risk and what your tolerance is. Now, we have features within that variable rate mortgage. You can lock it in, but then you have to be comfortable. If you lock it in, did you go too soon? So you have to be okay with that. Like, those are the
hmm
questions that I ask. I want to know if you're okay with that. I don't want to know if you want the lowest rate. Of course you want the lowest rate. Nobody likes paying $7 for strawberries one day and $10 the next day. But if you want strawberry pie, you need the strawberries. So you have to decide or change it up, right? Like, and then maybe make blueberry pie this week and strawberry pie next week. Like, you don't have to be married to it, but you have to be open to flexibility. And I think that people go lowest rate, not realizing that I took that lowest rate on a 5 year fixed when it was on a promo, but now I want to separate from my spouse and I'm going to break this mortgage and it's got a $30,000 penalty. And I already knew I wasn't super keen on staying with him at the time, but I really liked that lower rate.
hmm You
So
told
we
me
need to,
once that people break their mortgage on average a 5-year fix every 33 months. Is that right?
yeah, the average Canadian, so 62% of Canadians break their mortgage on the third month.
Wow.
Yeah. Now,
But why? So then, why is the 5-year fix the hallmark? If people are breaking their mortgage, why is that the thing?
because your dad and mom took it. I don't know, actually.
Really?
Just don't question it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so funny. When I got my first mortgage, nobody offered me anything but the 5-year fixed rate. I didn't have an option, and I didn't know enough at that time. This dates me a little bit to ask. I had no idea. I was an uninformed consumer. Just here's what you get. Okay, I'll take my 5.75% 5-year fixed rate. That was what was offered to me. I
Yeah.
guess that's what I get. And I think being a knowledgeable consumer is a little bit easier in this day and age, but I also didn't do enough at that time to look beyond the rate. So I think it's a really important conversation, especially for first time home buyers,
Oh,
to
for
really
sure.
understand the planning behind it. Because something that I see, and I'm sure you see this too, is a lot of first time home buyers are not buying that home as a forever home. They're
Not
buying is it a
for the last
stepping
25
stone,
years.
right? So realistically, there is going to be some sort of either portability that they need to have built into their existing mortgage
Totally.
structure. And I don't know if people are asking the questions or if they're even being advised of this. And that's exactly going back to the planning that you're talking about in what you do. So what are some of those things that you want people to think about other than the rate, but looking at when they're shopping around for a mortgage, whether they're first or second or third time home buyers? What are some of the other questions that they should be thinking about when they're talking to somebody at either the bank or otherwise about this?
Yeah. So I always tell one of my favorite real estate partners online, she said once, the market doesn't care about you, right? Like the market's never called me and said, like, hey, I'm going to increase rates this week. So just get all your clients and like make sure they're good. So you want to know kind of what your framework is. And nobody knows, like, if you had asked me 3 years ago, if I would, and we'll talk about this, probably be selling my house that I built, I probably would have said no with 100% confidence, right? Like you don't
Mhm.
really know. But a better question is like, instead of saying, are you going to move in the next 5 years? I like to ask, do you see yourself living in this home permanently? Because people, when they are asked about things being permanent, they'll question it like, well, maybe not forever, but
Mhm.
yeah, I could see myself the next 2 to 5 years being here.
Mhm.
Okay, then let's look at maybe that kind of length of term. Or, like you said, having portability worked into it. I think for me, the question that I love asking the most or get asked the most, loved get to get asked the most, sorry,
Mhm.
and it always throws me off is like, why should I work with you? They ask me that. And I'm always like, oh, well, you called me and booked the appointment. I wasn't ready for that. But I think it's a great question because you should want to know what the person you're talking to has to offer. And usually it's not for me like a deal, right? It's
Mhm.
more, how do you answer the question? And so what they're really going to get from that is if you ask that to someone, is how they're going to frame it. Are they just going to big themselves up like a salesperson, or are they going to explain to the process of the how? And I think when you work with someone and they can explain the how and the why, then you understand that they're not just going to give you a quick answer and push you out the door.
Mhm.
My whole process, I always say this, I've been doing this since 2008. I have clients that still call me. They find me on LinkedIn. I've changed my like I'm married. I have a different name. Phone number's still the same, believe it or not. That's like the only
I
thing
believe
that's
it.
the
Yeah,
same for me.
sure.
That stayed. Still a 416 girly over here on the West Coast.
Amazing.
But they will find me and they will say, you got me my mortgage at First Line. Doesn't exist anymore. I've outlived mortgage products. Again, that might date me.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yes. And they'll be like, you got me my first mortgage and you shared this piece of advice and blah, blah, blah. And what do you think I should do now? It's the how. I'm here for the life of your mortgage. I truly am. It's not, this isn't a phase in my life.
Mhm.
And you need to make sure the person you're working with is willing to stand the test of time and not just give you a crystal ball. People ask me all the time, what do you think is going to happen? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know when I joined the mortgage industry there was going to be a market crash. That was a
Mhm.
really bad year to start in mortgages. 2008, not a fun time. 2010 was not a fun time. We've had a couple other like kind of scares, but not as bad as pandemic. That was not a
Mhm.
good time. And then I would say like kind of recession-y right now is not a good time.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, there's never a good time in the market. Like it's kind of just, again, riding the wave. So finding that person that you can trust and rely on is so important. And oftentimes they come with a team. And I don't mean a mortgage team. I mean like a financial trusted resource, a amazing lawyer, a great, family planning lawyer as well. That's
Mhm.
so important. People you can lean in on and trust in to create that buying team or that cash flow team or that advice team. Because anybody trying to push a transaction, they're not going to help you when you do have a death, when you do have, and I say when, because some point in your life you're going to deal with someone passing away, meaning to refinance or change the structure of things in some capacity. Nobody lives it perfect, right? So life
Mhm.
happens and having that supportive team is so important.
Yeah, and I think also we can really use debt against the equity that we're building in our properties in a lot of other ways too. I was just talking to a client the other day, and they've got about $1 million in their mortgage, but their home is worth 2.6, I think. And we were talking about readvanceable mortgage, which
Hmm.
is not a term they had ever heard before, but the utilization of debt in a way to build your net worth sheet over time and how to do that in a tax friendly way wasn't something that they had ever heard of or thought about, but their current market structure didn't have the flexibility to do that. They didn't have a readvanceable mortgage. They didn't have the ability to access more available equity from their home if they needed it. So I think when you're talking to when you mentioned the team, that's what resonated for me is I know one part of it. Let's say you know the other part of it. And when we can bring those things together, then the client can have, at the end of the day, the best solution from a product perspective that suits their planning, right?
Yes.
Because we don't always have, I don't have all the intricacies of what mortgage products looks like. That's not what I do for a living. And you don't necessarily know that the client is looking to do a tax maneuver over on this side of the equation. I think knowing what's in the mortgage, what does it allow you to do or access? What are the penalties, like you said?
Mhm.
Even I've seen a mortgage once, and you probably know this as well, where if one spouse passed away, the other spouse had to
That
requalify,
one is
and they
one of the
didn't know
biggest,
that.
most popular banks out there, and it is horrible.
Yes. Can you talk about that for a minute? Are we allowed to talk about that?
I mean, yeah, basically, we don't have to say the bank or whatever,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's two things on that, two banks that are different, and one has if you have a line of credit, they will immediately close it. Sorry, not close it, like freeze it, and that can be horrifying because
Hmm.
that might be funeral costs, like that might be lifestyle
Emergency
costs
funds.
until
Right.
insurance comes in if you have a great planner or you need to
Other
access,
assets.
right? Like it doesn't, you would say that when you need money, it's not like that, even if you have it, right? It's
Hmm.
not instant
Sure.
access. Yeah. So that line of credit though is.
Hmm.
So if you notify the institution, sometimes will halt that and then
That you
I
don't
don't
have
know, credit
access.
card until
Yeah.
then. And some spouses are living in a different day and age where you're the secondary and now maybe that
Yes.
credit card's also been frozen. So
Hmm.
there's quite a few things to think about in the overall planning, but that's one is the line of credit. The other institution does have a product that has a low rate. And if you got it with a spouse and then that spouse passes away, then you may be requalifying for that mortgage. And maybe that spouse was the primary income earner, or maybe you were, but you needed their income as well. When you get a mortgage in two names, oftentimes you're qualifying with two incomes. And
Hmm.
yeah, that can be a really problematic place to be. And now you're stressed about, is this going to impact my lifestyle at home at the same time as grieving the loss of a loved one? So there's much more to be thinking about than just the lowest rate. Prepayment privileges, portability, and
Hmm.
penalties. My favorite second set of P's that I love. The other one is plan, prepare, and perform, which is the other educated or evergreen advice, like no last minute things, right? Like you can live your variable life with planning. You don't have to be making rush decisions. You know, you can do your renewal 4 months in advance. You don't have to do it 24 hours before it's due.
Yeah.
Options, time.
Yeah.
Time is your asset always, right?
Always. And I think you always put this out there on social media. I see it. If you're knowing that your renewal is coming up in 6 months, call me. Like, let's start the conversation. Like, let's get going because there's so much that can happen that we want to be
Totally.
prepared for. And I love that advice. It's planning. It's being proactive. It's not being reactive or last minute or procrastinating. It's getting ahead of the eight ball.
Mhm.
I want to switch gears a little bit in the mortgage industry to talk about new Canadians who have no idea what our mortgage market is about. And I work with these Canadians, these new Canadian residents who come from other countries, and they have different mortgage products and different
Mhm.
structures and different tax rules. How do you work with new Canadians that might be different from them walking into a bank branch, which is likely what most people would do when they came to Canada? It's
Mhm.
familiar. How do you work with new Canadians, and what are some of the considerations that they have to think about when they're going to get a mortgage for the first time in Canada?
Yeah, again, it's the same advice really, which is engage early and having that team of professionals. So, immigration lawyers, really important, really, really important. Financial planner or designated financial advisor, whichever way you go about it, very important. Mortgage broker, very important, I would say. I actually start usually, most of my clients that come are either Airbnb-ing it or renting in the beginning
Hmm.
unless it's straight from the US or UK, because we have a lot of similar options when it comes to qualifying and credit. So,
Hmm.
like, we can use US credit. Honestly, that's almost like no problem. Like, just let's go sort it out. They almost the exact same as a Canadian. However, there are taxes and rules here that when done strategically, you can save like thousands of dollars, like
Hmm.
big time money. So engaging early, you and I discussing like how we're getting the funds from that other country here, because we do need them here. I would say 90 days before closing for sure, here being
Hmm.
Canada. And sometimes those wires take longer from certain countries. It can take, for large lump sums of money, it can take time. There can be strategic times to do that, right? Like year ends and stuff like that. So that's when you and I would kind of really stick handle that conversation, where I would tell you the timeline based on purchasing and you would say the timeline based on, year ends and that sort of thing from that perspective. But just getting that money here, establishing that credit. I actually think going to the branch is a great idea right off the bat, which is so funny because there's
Okay,
things that we
interesting.
need to do, like open a bank account and establish a relationship, especially getting that conversation with the branch manager, because sometimes what we need for lending is literally a letter saying that that individual knows the branch manager, saying they have opened an account, they have seen this person's face, establishes a known relationship.
Right.
Utility bills, credit card, and phone bills. Those things all are building your history here. It's a short history, but it can be established in a wealth of ways.
Hmm.
Right. And then, we can kind of utilize that to get you into home ownership a lot sooner. Obviously, doing taxes on time, big deal, but it can't always be done instantaneously, right? Depending on when you land. But yeah, just engaging the right people, understanding the benefits of having those people in your corner, and then getting great advice when it comes to timing. Again, timing comes down to everything, because year ends and when you can contribute to things and not contribute to things really matter. And that could help
Hmm.
you or down payment or getting your money here faster. Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are great tips. And I think it's just a scary new world sometimes for people to venture into. But there is an appetite, especially here, to own real estate, and also a
Yes.
culture, very much a culture of owning real estate in Canada.
Yes.
You mentioned something I want to go back to. You mentioned credit, and you're really, really knowledgeable in credit. We've talked about this
Love credit.
before. Love credit. Real, just to deviate a little bit, the 5 C's of credit that you taught me about quite a while back. Do you mind going over those credit
Yeah. Yeah, so credit's one of
points? Yeah.
for sure. And then collateral, which is the property itself. So that's pretty self-explanatory. My favorite, I would think, is character. And so that is like, are you seeking credit constantly? Are you paying it back on time? What kind of person are you? Are you someone that takes a reasonable amount of credit and then uses some of it? Or are you taking all of the credit and maxing all of it? That shows a lot, right? Capacity is another C. And that is, are you maxed always? Even if you have a credit
Mm,
card of $500, first of all, if you have a credit card of $500, please, for the love of all things holy, increase it. You don't have to use it ever
yeah.
past $500, but if you are maxed, that's a problem, because as soon
Mhm.
as it's just charged, or if you go over it by a dollar, that really hurts your credit, because it shows that you're at capacity and your character is that you're maxed.
Mhm.
Big no bueno.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we want to have it like at $1,000 capacity and $500 used. So that shows that you're only at 50%, which is a lot
Mhm.
better. If you can keep it at 35%, even better, and then paying it off on time. So those are kind of the overall rules. I would say those are the three most important in my opinion.
No, those are really important because I think often we think about how do we build credit and how do we become someone that a lender wants to lend money to.
Mhm.
And knowing those rules are important. I think you told me having at least two sources of credit, so whether it be utility bill, a phone bill, in your name, not in your spouse's name, but in your name is really important. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, it's the 222 rule. And then I'll also throw in history as well, which kind of throws into character and maybe even capacity a little bit. But the 222 rule is two types of credit. So
Mhm.
let's say car loan and a Visa card or whatever
Mhm.
credit card, $2,000 limit or more.
Mhm.
And for 2 years, that's the history. So we want to see that you can manage around $2,000. More or less, that's fine. If it's $1,500, it's just a general
Right.
frame.
Yeah.
And then two types. So we have revolving credit in Canada and we have installment credit. There are a few others, like a mortgage counts as a different kind. And then there's open, which is like a phone bill.
Mhm.
Really, installment and revolving are the two that really kind of control the score. And a credit revolving means that you pay it and then it's readvanceable. So essentially you pay it off and then you can use it again tomorrow.
Mhm.
Installment is it continues to get smaller and smaller and smaller as you pay it down. And those two together will help build your credit. The big thing that I get asked often too late in the process is I closed my credit cards. I paid them off and closed them. I would say, please don't do that. Just pay it off. If you get another one and you have that for a while, then you can close the other one.
Hmm.
What happens when you close the credit card, you actually lose the history. It's like swiping it clear and then
Right.
so you could have had I have a credit card from CIBC when I first got my first job there. $5,000 limit, use it, use it, pay it off. And then every once in a while, I just use it still just to keep it. It's my longest piece of credit card. I don't use it very often, but it's there. And oftentimes what triggers the use of it again is that 5 years has expired. It's a new card that arrives in the mail. And I go,
Right.
use that.
Gotta use that.
In years, it'll fall off anyway. But
Right.
it's that length of time showing that you've had it.
Hmm.
I'm not saying you have to do this all the time, but then again, don't have 30 credit cards because then you
Yeah.
can't keep track of it. When it gets
Yeah.
complicated and messy, that's when you get a bill. Oh, yeah, I forgot I had that store credit card for a couch from 1995, right? Like,
Hmm.
just buy the couch, pay it off, call it a day, right? Like,
What about all of the new ways in which people see credit today? So, you go and pay with Klarna as an example. So all of the buy now, pay later types of credit, how does that apply to mortgages?
well, first of all, we have to use a minimum payment on your mortgage application, and those
Hmm.
don't come with a minimum payment. So it'll always be a 3% minimum payment. So they will impact your ratios. Just find there's just such an easy opportunity to miss when you're needing to pay them again. I've just never liked a idea for a mortgage broker. I'm very conservative in a lot of ways. I
Hmm.
don't want the idea of spending money you don't have.
Hmm.
I feel like if you just wait, that's my advice. Just wait, save up for it. If you really want it in 12 months, like, and I get it. Maybe, you had a terrible accident with a toddler and it's like, nobody can sit on this couch ever again.
Right.
Okay, fine. There's reasons and that sort of thing, but maybe don't wait till the very last day of when you can do it, the payment. Like, think about paying it or saving to pay for it, whatever the case may be. I understand that people need those types of things here and there. There are times when you're going to need them, but I tend to kind of shy away from instant gratification in general in life.
So it's not super impactful then for mortgages. Like you said, it's 3%. So not terrible, but still not great financial planning advice in general.
I would say that, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not going
Okay.
to ruin.
Yeah. Last mortgage related question, and I definitely want to talk about your personal big move and what you did with real estate. But what is, the mortgage market has been crazy. I would say in talking with clients in the past, call it 3 years, it's been a roller coaster. So if you had to talk about the current state of the industry today, how would you describe it? I know that we're always needing to, clients will need a mortgage one way or another. Doesn't really matter what's happening. But how would you describe it today?
Yeah. So I'm pretty positive in general,
Hmm.
even though, and again, that exactly from what you just said, people are always going to be buying and selling real estate. So I'm always going to be needed in some capacity. Maybe AI will come replace me, but so far, so good. So opportunity filled. I definitely think that we are in a situation where there are so many opportunities right now. If you are a first time home buyer and you want that condo in Toronto, this is the time to capitalize. Like, holy cow, I wish I was a first time home buyer. I wish when I was a first time home buyer, it was like how it is now. Uncertain, right? And I'm not saying
Hmm.
everyone should rush and buy a condo. Please don't take that as advice. I'm just saying
Yes,
prices have
of
come
course.
down. Okay, we are not living pandemic, prices going up multiples. Buyer's market opportunity right now, right? We're talking about the ability to do financing conditions. We are talking about negotiating price and closing date. We are talking about pretty stressed out sellers that want to make changes to their lives, but they've been waiting 72, 90, 150 days on the market, relisting, canceling, that sort of thing. So there's opportunities here for buyers in a great way. And I
Hmm.
would say rates are on the lower side. The average rate over the last 25 years is around 3.99. And we are dancing there right now. So if
Hmm.
you're in a short-term mindset of, oh, I want 199 because that's what we got in 2020, LOL, that was not normal. 3.99, 407, that is. And guess where we are right now? There. So this is actually good, right? We are
Hmm.
in an okay time when it comes to rates and purchasing price. So, like, opportunity. I'm very positive right now. I am very busy and very happy. This is a good time to be a mortgage professional, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Uncertain, though, people are looking at the states. News came out today about, how process for trade is going to go and tariffs are going to go going forward. It is a long journey as to how that's going to roll out. Well, that's a whole other podcast topic, I'm
Right?
sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. We are highly influenced by other countries like US and China. There are a lot of things happening in Russia. We are being pulled in different directions. It's uncertain. People are afraid. So that I would say is impacting life. We're also in the largest renewal time of our history.
I was going to
20
ask about that. Yes.
a beautiful year. I am all of the awards to come. It's going to be wonderful. And why that is, we've got 2020, 2021 5-year fix coming up for renewal, which was the
Mm-hmm.
biggest year of originations. And then 2023, people got really nervous and scared and took 3-year fix.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone, but that's what happened a lot of the
Yes.
time. We have 2 cohorts, and I don't know if you remember Ontario, the graduation of the double cohort when we all
Yes, I
wanted
do.
and we got rid of grade 13 and
Yep.
then everyone was competing. And what all that meant was the universities had very full years. And I'm looking forward to a very full year of wonderful clients and great opportunity. But there is the mortgage shock and the payment shock of going from that 1.5% to 2% up to 3.5% or 4.5%, depending on where you land.
Mm-hmm.
Again, engaging early because it's going to be a rush. And I will tell you, my calendar is quite full.
Yes.
And that's great. But yes, planning ahead and knowing that those things are there, the uncertainty is there, and then evolving. We are seeing changes to regulatory bodies through FISRA and qualification. New changes to stress test are always being communicated. Lender guidelines, sometimes we've gotten, last year around the end of the year, a couple of lenders basically said, no, thanks, we're done.
Mm,
No more money to lend. Go somewhere else.
that's
So
crazy.
I mean, it happens here and there, right? They just
Okay.
increase the rates because they don't want more business.
Gotcha.
But yeah, basically, there's going to be lots of changes as there always is, and you got to roll with it. And
Mm-hmm.
so again, time is your friend. Get in there, have the conversations early, and do your due diligence as a Canadian homeowner.
Yeah, we've seen a lot in the last, I would say, year of clients who have those 5 years coming up. Everybody's terrified. Everybody is scared because everyone locked in under two. And now they're looking at what is the impact to my payment going to be? I have no idea. And I think most people think, to be honest with you, I was paying, let's say, $2,500 a month. Is it going to be six? And I think there's a little bit of just fear of the unknown there without
Totally.
running the numbers and knowing what that could actually look like. Even if we don't know the end rate by the
Mhm.
time you renew, we can stress test that. And
Abs-
we've done that for some of our clients to say, okay, if it's 3.5 to 4.5, knowing what your amortization schedule or your pay down schedule looks like from now until renewal, then what are we anticipating that the range of potential cash flow encumbrances could look like? And how does that differ from what you're paying today? So to try to take some of the fear out of the
Totally.
renewal, even if they're renewing at a higher rate, because what I tell clients too is don't forget you've paid it down now for 5 years. It's
Yes.
not
It's
the
already
same. It's
stress tested.
exactly. So, people don't be afraid out there of a renewal, but do start working early, like Emily advises, and really just understand what could be the potential cash flow impact. And then you have time to plan for that in advance,
Totally.
hopefully. That's really, really sage advice. Any last words on mortgage and the industry today as it stands?
Yeah, I just again want to leave with it's a very positive time with opportunity if you are looking at it the right way with the right team. And then I always say to not stretch yourself to your furthest
Thank
point.
you. Thank you. As a planner, thank you.
I always say I like to put you in debt with a smile on your face. So
Yes.
you leave feeling good about the house you bought with opportunity of future possibilities, not your house poor and driven by anxiety. And now we are in this situation.
Right.
A home is wonderful, but it comes with a lot of work, not just financial, but physical work too. So you don't need to have that extra on you. And if you
Hmm.
do the right planning and you spend under budget, you're not rushing, you will have a very happy life.
Yeah. And a buffer to deal with all of the home ownership maintenance that will come, especially I would say in owning a new home, the first 3 years, there's a lot you have to do. There's furniture, there's
And that's what you want
updates,
to do too,
what you
right?
want to do. So don't go to your max. Like you don't want to stress yourself out. Like you said, that's perfect advice. And also a great segue
Mm,
into our next conversation. And the reason that I want to talk about you specifically in your personal life is I find it really inspiring. Emily did live in Port Credit. I can say that, hopefully,
Oh, yeah.
with her husband and kids up until somewhat recently. And you were doing a really big renovation on your home. So maybe we could just start the story there. Talk to me about how you made the decision to do the big renovation.
Yeah. So again, I'm very conservative with things and I like to try to find out what I can do to get the most bang for my buck. That's how I operate in almost all facets of my life. And so we loved Port Credit. Actually still love Port Credit. I adore it there. And for those of you who don't know, it's affectionately named the Jewel of Mississauga. It is on the water and it is a very select, small range of area. People often say they live in in Port Credit, but they're actually not. It is a very exclusive, small little unit and it runs just along the lakeshore there. It's absolutely stunning. And so, in order to move up from where we were kind of looking at the 2.53 million range in order to get what we wanted, which obviously is a place of like, that's a choice.
Hmm.
But it's a choice that I just didn't want to spend that much. I wanted what I wanted without having to spend as much. And whether or not that's a bonkers life way to be or not, it is how I think.
Sure.
So we made the decision to knock down our house and rebuild. And it was the best decision that I've ever made. It was absolutely rewarding in ways that I never thought possible. I learned so much about myself and our family. I had fun picking everything out. I picked
Hmm.
everything exactly how I wanted it. I wouldn't have changed anything. I loved it. And
And it
then
was, and that
thank you.
was your forever home at the time, right? Right?
And that was my forever home.
Well, so you did the renovation with the
Mhm.
plan on staying in per credit, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about what happened next.
So our renovation or build went over schedule timing wise, as they always do. And of course, I
Sure.
knew that. So our rental was up. And so we went to Florida for 2 months, 3 months.
Hmm.
It was during the pandemic. There was no school for kids anyhow. So we thought, why be cold? Let's just pop over to the States and live there and work there for a while. And we kind of got a taste of what it's like to run a business and actually start a little bit of a community. And we ended up making friends with people there. I actually, funny enough, was ended up being with a real estate agent from Oakville. We did business together and very strange. Yep. She was in
Hmm.
a similar
Small world.
situation. And so we kind of bonded by the pool. And then next thing you know, our kids are playing hockey together back home and we're closing deals together. So just having those conversations and being open to it and then realizing I can work from anywhere. Like
Hmm.
I just need secure internet that follows all the real rules of our industry, which is pretty simple to figure out.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was amazing. So then we started thinking like, is this what we want? And I did change brokerages at that time, and I had a beautiful opportunity with my CEO at the time to go across the country to Kelowna and spend 5 days with him. As I said, he runs a coaching and training company, and so he said, "Okay, open up your laptop and let's tear apart your business and see if we can make any more efficiencies." So I spent 5 days with him deep diving on hiring and business planning and all of this stuff that was, extremely valuable to my business.
Hmm.
But what happens in the evening is you go for walks, you go for dinner, you go for drinks, you see the town. And oh my goodness gracious, did I ever fall in love with the mountains and the lake? And this is January, and everyone here kept saying, "You like it now? Just wait till you see it in the summer." So then I came back in March, and that was 2023. And I brought my husband and I said, listen, as we watched a water plane land on the Okanagan, sipping a 2022 Q, which is a Bordeaux blend, the airplane lands on the lake, touches it just gently and takes off again. And the waitress says, "Is there anything else I can get you?" And I said, "Yeah, we'll have one more glass of wine." And she goes, "Oh, are you visiting or do you live here?" And I said, "Well, we're just visiting, but we're moving here this year." And Josh goes, "What?" My poor husband came for a 48-hour visit to the town that I eventually got him to move to. So we came back in July for a week with the kids, and as they say, the rest is history.
So how soon was that after the finish of the reno?
About 9 months.
So not long, not long. That is, I find, in talking to lots of clients, a really hard thing to do. It's a big pivot, right? You're not just going to a different house in Port Credit and upsizing, but you're
Hmm.
moving across the country. And the forever home that you built, that you love,
Hmm.
is now not the forever home. Was that difficult? And how did you give yourself permission to basically pivot in your life like that?
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me this question in advance because I really had to stop and think about that.
Hmm.
I'm not attached to things. My kids and my husband, my dog, yes.
Hmm.
People I know I can fly back for, and I've been very fortunate. For example, you flew out here. We live near a ski hill, and it's almost like a resort in the summer. People want to visit, and
Yes.
I am in a
Beautiful.
very fortunate position where I can fly back. I flew back 10 times last year, and we're kind of already starting on the same trajectory this year. You can visit people for sure. Things I am not attached to. If I had to tomorrow sell everything or even just walk away. I mean, we moved to a forest fire region. It's actually a possibility. I'm not attached to things at all. So the
Hmm.
house I did love and I did cry. I'm not a cold-hearted person, I there were memories there. I got engaged in that home. I built that home. I picked everything about that home out. I had both my babies in that home. It's filled with lots of memories, but it's just a house. It's a means to an end. Like I don't need that.
Hmm.
But experiences and living life is what we're here for, in my opinion, and I wanna try it. I wanted
I
to
love
try it.
that.
I've never moved across the country before, and I was thinking about it, this is probably not my last move. I've never lived in Europe. I've never gone and lived in the States permanently. I've lots of ties there. I know for sure I'll never live somewhere colder than here, but I don't think that I know for sure that I'll always live here.
Yeah, and I think that's a really wonderful, flexible mindset to have. That's hard. It's really hard for a lot of people to think with such, in a way, boundaryless thinking. And I think that's what you and I connect on very well. You must have
Mhm.
had a really good mortgage broker, by the way, who structured that mortgage and poor credit so that you could move with great flexibility. Am I right?
I did indeed, yeah. We had quite a flexible one, and it's a fun structure, but yes. I think for me, when it comes to moving, I always say burn the boat, don't burn the bridge.
Hmm.
So, you can always come back by and it might take longer and harder because you gotta walk across the bridge, but you gotta try and burning the boat to me means, like, make it a real effort.
Mm.
So for me, people were like, "Why don't you keep the house in Port Credit? You love it so much, turn it to a rental and then buy something." And I was like, "I don't think though, if I make the choice to move, I don't think I would move back to that house.
Hmm.
I think I'd want to try something different." And that's
Totally.
why I said to you, like, I might not move, like, I might not be here forever, but
Hmm.
like, I could see myself going somewhere in like retirement, south of France,
Yeah.
practicing French every day, like trying something totally different. It might be a really small something or a townhouse where it has no maintenance. Or it might be, Southern California or something like something like so different that I would have to push myself in different ways. Maybe I'm not working every single day, but I have to learn a new language, something like that, or
Mm.
cooking or walking more to things like not car dependent. I don't know. Like, I don't know what that is yet, but
Yeah.
I know I don't like to be the same all the time. It's
Yes.
just the way I am. It's why I don't want to be in a desk job where I'm sitting at a desk constantly. I take so many of my calls walking. I just love being outside. So
Hmm.
I think that, that opportunity to try and to not be afraid to also invest time in relationships. I always try to make my phone calls to family and friends and connect, to check in, to make sure they're okay, to send a DM like, "What are you up to? Where are you?" I always tell people, if you're visiting this area, like, let me know. I'll come pick you up.
Hmm.
Just try to be as, like, connected that way as possible, but not married to the fact that, like, this is where I'll be forever. And I've even had people say to me, like, "If I move out there, I'd be with you all the time." And I'm like, "Don't tie yourself to me because I am,
Hmm.
like, not permanent."
Yeah. Do it for
You
you.
know?
Yeah.
Do it for you. Love that, and I hope you do, but I also don't wanna be responsible for if you hate it, because some people are like, "It's so hot here. There's smoke in the summer." And I'm like, "Girl, it is cold where I came from. I love it."
Listen, the grass is always greener, right? Like no matter what we're doing in life, there's a
Yeah,
little bit of a risk to what we have is great, but and I think that's something that we all struggle with to different degrees, right? Like there's always the next rainbow around the corner. However,
totally.
in your case, I think often there's a lot of sunk cost bias in doing something that is a huge commitment, not just from a financial standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint for your family to create this
Yes.
life for yourselves to kind of pivot from that. So less so on the financial side, but more so on the mindset. How
Mhm.
would you talk to individuals who might be listening who have made similar efforts in their own lives to feel like it was a waste or to feel like, well, they put so much effort into that? that feels too big to change. So what would you say to those people?
Yeah. So you mean like how I basically built the house, put all of like 2 to 3 years into it and then just walked away?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
hard.
So a lot of people tie themselves to things and people, right? So I went home to Ontario in January.
Hmm.
My brother had a baby and I'm so excited to be a two-time auntie. There are times where it breaks my heart to not be with my niece and nephew. I will say that is extremely challenging because I'm missing out on the day to day of their lives. That is really hard for me to swallow that pill.
Hmm.
That one is probably the hardest thing. However, I try my best to do as many touch points and that sort of thing because I look at my little family and I think this is my opportunity to make the best life for them. And if I thought about every single other person, then I wouldn't be thinking about them. And it's when to be selfish. And so I was looking at our life, and this is just my life. It doesn't mean that it's the way it is in the GTA for everyone.
Hmm.
But for us to take my son to hockey, it was between 30 to 50 minutes to go from South to North Mississauga 2 to 3 times a week. And he loves hockey. So we are doing that on weekdays. We are scheduling time around traffic. We are just in it. My daughter would get car sick all the time. Truly, so did I. Uh, It was just bonkers. And we were
Hmm.
rushing around everywhere. And did we see our family more frequently? Yes. Do I miss certain people? Yes. Did we get told by so many people, you're happy here? You're happy here. Why are you looking to go elsewhere? We were happy. We had great friends and family. We still have great friends and family. And one of my girlfriends, who you know quite well, told me when you move across, she moved across the world. When you move, you do lose some connection to some people, but you also have a whole new world that you open up. And I have opened up and unlocked an entire community here in the West Side that I didn't know existed.
Hmm.
And do I miss certain family members here and there? Yes, of course. We try to make the efforts as much as possible. But if I thought about them all the time and what they want from me and need from me, and then it wouldn't be protecting my kids and doing our dreams that we want to do. And now we have a hockey arena 3 minutes from our house. The school is 2 minutes from our house. We have horses. I live across from a vineyard. We don't have any traffic on our street. I feel like I can breathe. And everybody's different. For me, I live in a moment of peace. And there's people here that complain about traffic. And it makes me laugh because I have 6 deer that just walk across my front yard all the time. And I'm like, there's no traffic here except for the wildlife. And it's
Yeah.
fantastic. But someone else might hate that. You know what I mean? And the people here, they hate it. They think, oh, the deer are eating my lettuce. And I'm like, well, I got to plant
How
more lettuce.
beautiful is that though?
Must
The
plant more
deer.
lettuce. It's great. So everybody's different and that sort of thing. But to those people that say, like, I can't leave because I have to take care of my mother. I can't leave because I have this job. All I hear is I can't. I think I can do anything. And I tell my children, you can do anything. And Andrea, I believe you can do anything and everything. The only thing that limits us is what's between our ears. And that is something that I believe we can change. If your mom is sick, you can fly home. You being there, like if you really want to do that. And that means that you might have to work an extra shift here or there to be able to pay for that flight. I understand that financially that's not always the easiest option. I'm just saying for me, we have non-negotiables where if somebody needs something, my brother has a baby, boom, I'm there
Hmm.
within, it's not the day the baby was born, but honestly, my sister-in-law doesn't want me in the room anyway, right? Love her. She loves me. We have a great relationship,
Sure.
but I'm not holding the leg. I'm not the doctor.
Yeah.
I will see you when you've had a nap
Hmm.
3 to 5 days later, and I will hold that baby and I will love that baby. And then I will get back on my airplane and go home.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just what you want for your life. And again, it's not perfect. I miss things sometimes, and I really do. But on the whole, I look at the overall average and I think like 80% of the time, I'm full of joy. 20% of the time, I've got FOMO.
Yeah. You your life is really inspiring to me. I met a family last summer who had a family motto, and it reminds me of your family. Their family motto was live an extraordinary life. You want to look back and you want to inspire your kids with extraordinary things. And however that resonates or however that you take that and apply it to your life, I think is a beautiful thing, but that is in your control. And I love that you pointed to your mind. For those who are listening, can't see Em pointing to her head. It is all what we tell ourselves is possible. And
Totally.
if we open up our own doors a little bit. Anything is possible. And you taught me that back in 2018 when I was on mat leave. And hopefully, anyone listening today will be inspired by your story and think bigger and think that their dreams are possible and that it's just about planning ahead and ensuring that you've got the right mindset, the right team, and tools and resources to help you along the way. So, with
Totally.
that, I want to say thank you, Em. It's been such a pleasure as usual. Where can people find you if they're looking for some help today?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a quick and easy website. It's just emilycallme.com and you can book right in my calendar. Or you can go on Instagram and go to Emily Mortgage Broker, also pretty easy. But I welcome questions. I love conversation. Appreciate the opportunity because it is fun to think about. And if I can just leave on a female empowerment kind of moment as we kind of roll into International Women's Day in a couple of weeks here and that sort of thing is um, we tend to second guess ourselves and feel fearful of making choices because of what others might think or how it could impact others. Like there's a lot of judgment, especially in a male dominated industry that I'm in. And I know you probably feel similar in yours. There's a lot of heart in planning and there's a lot of heart in leading. And I think that's something that we can lean into as women. And I like thinking about how I can help others by leading by example. And I think it's really important that we live our most authentic and truest self. And I can't help you with things as simple as your mortgage or as small in your life as your mortgage if I'm unhappy. My cup needs to be full. And that means, taking care of myself and being true to my lifestyle and dreams. So it's not selfish. And oftentimes we think of it as selfish by being happy. And
Hmm.
I encourage anyone who's thinking about making a life choice like that, encourage the conversations, but don't always listen to the people that are necessarily in the room because they'll say no because of their own fears. And whenever I hear somebody wanting to jump and try a new career or move or have a baby later in life or, leave their whatever it is, like I'm like, okay, like let's figure it out. Why do we want to do that? Like what's where and it's the curiosity. I'm very
Hmm.
curious and I think it's fun to do so. So
And
hopefully that
positive. That's wonderful. I love that so much. Wonderful words leading into International Women's Day. We also need to uplift each other and support each other rather than be the no. Let's be the yes for each other. And hopefully, anyone listening has someone in their life that is that yes person or it is that sounding board for you that you can feel safe with. So,
totally.
really appreciate your words and so proud of everything that you've accomplished and that you're continuing to accomplish. And just want to thank you so much for your time today.
I just appreciate the opportunity and I love spending time with you. So
Me
thanks for
too.
having me.
All right. Take care.
Bye.